Monday, February 25th, we'll start the regularly scheduled board meeting of the Othello School District Board of Directors with the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was going to welcome our guest, but I don't know if we can call you a guest. I think we're paying you, so it automatically was. But welcome. Good to see you. I will, item A3, I'll take a motion to, or accept a motion to approve the agenda.
I move we accept the agenda.
Been a motion to accept the agenda as written
Second.
by Director Garza, second by Director Stevenson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion carries 4-0. Item B1, public comment. We do not have any requests for comment tonight, so we'll move on to item B2.
I had to log back in, Talia, that's why I didn't get the vote in.
Board member discussions. First item is our legislative report. Jen.
So the legislative session are now on, I think, day 46 or something, and they just had a big deadline pass on Friday of the first, for all bills, they have to get out of committee, thank you, in order to continue forward. So there's been a few tweaks and some of those kinds of things. There's 3 special education bills. There's public education funding. There's school facilities. One of them is about bond elections. That's House Bill 1184. Where they're requesting a simple majority. And so that will be interesting to see instead of super majority. Is that what it's called now? 60% plus one person. So if that does pass, that would change all bond elections to a simple majority. There's a school construction assistance program funding, or called SCAP. That is still moving forward, and a rural school preservation modernization. So still moving forward on those. So some interesting things that are going there. So, and there's a lot more money in the state budget this year than there has been in the past. So sometimes, and I'm not sure the reason for that, I didn't do research on that. Sometimes it's like a shark fight on who and where funding goes, but when there's excess funds, it doesn't always end up. So it'll be interesting to see what changes because of that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Next item is discussion regarding the next linkage meeting, and that's you as well, Jen. You had requested that. So
I finally have been in contact with McCain's and talked to someone that works there, and they forwarded an email for me to the correct person, and they were very excited about talking to us, and I gave them both the March and the May possible dates, and just said, we're up for either, and can you forward this to Simplot, the right person over there? You probably know that more than I do. And then they sent an email back fairly quickly to the HR person, and they said, yes, we're very interested in having this meeting with you guys. We'll finalize dates and get back to you. So that, it sounds like that's a go moving forward. But we had canceled the one in, was it January? Mm-hmm. Because we couldn't make any connections, but of the 5 that we planned at our last retreat, a PAC meeting was one of those. And so do we want to try to get into the PAC calendar for this school year? Do we want to not do PAC because of that 5th one that's already passed? or what's our plans? We just kind of said,
I think
hey,
we
let's
just
figure
missed
this
a
out.
PAC meeting the other night, didn't we? I think there was just one
so,
last week. Yeah, it's a good question. What would the board like to do? So we have, right now, we have it penciled in for, well, I shouldn't say penciled in. This is our calendar, March 11th. It's 6 PM before our regular meeting. We then have another one,
I think it was May 5th.
May 13th.
Right.
So we do have options in April, if we wanted to do a linkage meeting in April. But what would the board like to do? Did you feel like March 11th, we're going to be able to get one of those two to commit?
It seemed like it, yes.
Well, if they're ready, let's meet on the 11th with McCain.
Okay, so the concern was, though, the PAC meeting. I mean, who schedules those? Can we just sneak into, I mean, are they gonna be okay with us taking over?
I don't know the details of how that works.
We can check with David Spencer. He's responsible for scheduling those PAC meetings.
Okay.
So we're trying to contact him now. We'll let you know. March the 21st.
So,
Sorry, in regards to the PAC meeting, Dorothy and David are the ones that work, so you guys can talk to them, so that you guys, if you would like to schedule yourselves with the PAC meeting, they would be the ones to speak with.
so that would be March 20th. Is it monthly?
Yes.
Okay, they're every month then. So there will be a PAC meeting in April, it sounds like. So you want to
Okay.
just have this on the agenda for next meeting again?
Yes,
discuss?
yes, possible dates from
So we'll leave that on the
them
agenda
that they would
this
allow us to have. Perfect.
Other comment I was to make, this is our last meeting before the 11th, so I guess we have to decide tonight if we're just going to have the same format that we did in our first linkage meeting.
I think so.
And then-
Worked out very well.
So it's on unless we hear something different, Jen, then
Right.
the board will be,
And as soon as I
made
get
aware.
any specifics from them, I'll let you know, Rob, and then you can,
okay, thank
we
you.
can go from there.
Anything else with that, Jen?
Nope, that was it.
All right. The next item is just a continued discussion of the 2019 board retreat. We talked about it last time. I think we had tentatively, let me get my phone out. We said the first
First weekend in May.
weekend in May, right?
Right, but it was gonna be pending,
I-
what's available.
Yeah, that was available, and
Oh.
did the board have a chance to find out if that worked for them?
Works for me.
Yeah, I'm good with those dates.
I think there was a conflict with something going on with one of my kids, like a baseball game, or baseball tournament or something, but I'm okay with it though. Still go.
Okay.
And Ken?
May 5th,
That
4th
must
was
have
the
been
Saturday.
4th.
It would be the 3rd through the 5th. Go up Friday evening, meet on Saturday, come back Sunday, usually late morning. So the other item was Director Ashton, no, not anymore. Tony told me that it would be $500 a night, so essentially for 6 people, 6 bedrooms, under $100 per room. That's very gracious. I'm pretty sure that's way below market value, but he had said $500 a night, so the cost to the district for the housing there would be $1,000.
And then we cover our own foods? I mean,
Well, in the
split our
past,
foods the same?
In the past, we've just done the preparing there, so typically we just go grocery shopping, and that's a pretty low
Right.
expense compared to going out to restaurants as well.
Right.
I would imagine, I mean, I still have to follow up with the part of because it was a restaurant there that we met at, and whether or not we can meet there. But if we get kind of firm up this date, then we'll be able to, I'll
Right.
move on with that part of it.
What time did we typically start on Saturday morning? Like 9?
We started early, because we had a
Earlier.
It was 8.
big agenda, and so it was like, I think it was 8.
Okay. Because, Ken, were you talking about driving up on Saturday?
Actually, I will only be there for the 4th. I'm looking at, I've got already something on the 3rd and something on the 5th, so I'll be up there for the day only.
Would you be able to come the evening of the 3rd to stay? After your commitment on the 3rd?
It would be very, very late.
I mean, I guess it doesn't, if you wanted to drive up,
Yeah.
that's fine, but it would be, but we could shift it too. We could make
Yeah.
it be a later start if need be. I haven't even begun the process of the agenda, but it's gonna be similar. We do the same things. We evaluate ourselves. We go over the staff surveys, we go over the community surveys, we go over, for both the board and the superintendent. So it's not gonna be a lot different in format than last year.
Yeah, I think we left it, was it like 9 to 4 and we took a break for lunch? And maybe that was 30 minutes or so? For lunch?
I think last year was 8 to 4.
I think.
Was 8?
I do
Okay,
think we started early, but,
okay.
yeah, it was a long day.
So,
I remember.
just so you know,
Yes.
But we
can
can,
be aware of
we
that.
can
and know.
figure out the times later on based on when you'd be able to be up there, Ken.
So,
Okay. So we will get that then in the calendar. Next item was to set a date for the Director District 4 interviews. We just went over in our special meeting, we went over the applicants and applications, found that we have 5 that all qualify within the boundaries. And so suggestion I have would be if we were to allot 20 minutes before the meeting to put our potential questions together. The board can each come with their own questions and what they'd like to ask, and we'll kind of compile them in that first 20 minutes, and then have 20 minutes per applicant. And then maybe another 20 minutes then to have a discussion. And that is going to be executive session as well, so if we have to extend it, we can.
that sounds good. So like, plan on 2.5 hours?
Yeah, be close
Okay.
to 2.5. I believe we have one Monday available next Monday, then we have 3 in a row that we have things going on, that board related. Mike, you said you're not going to be here next
I'm not here
Monday,
on the
so is
4th.
there a day that the board would like to meet? Other than Monday? And how soon?
Monday's the only night I had next week that I don't have something at night. I have something every single night. Unless we did post 7 o'clock. Like Thursday, I could start at 7:30. But I can't promise that I'm gonna be going strong by the end of the meeting.
We need you strong, Jen, so
I
I
know,
think it's important.
right. Lots of chocolate and yes, other things. Other than Saturday,
Well, what about next week?
I'm talking about the 4th through the 8th. Is that what you were referring to?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, I
We're
was,
talking-
thought you
The
were talking
following.
about this week.
Oh, yeah. This week I have more options.
How's it look for the rest of the board this week?
I'm busy tomorrow night, and then I could be available.
About Thursday night?
I can do Thursday.
I could do Thursday,
What time would you like to have it start?
6 if we could.
6? We'd like to have something to eat here while we're having our
Please.
first 20 minutes,
Please.
considering it's kind of early. Okay. So let's plan on, would that work, Thursday? Dr. Hurst won't be here. Is the board okay with that? Okay. So one of the things is going to be availability of the applicants. So how do we want to handle that if we find that 1 or 2 can't make it Thursday? Do we want to set up a plan B just in case that's a day when everyone can be here?
We should set up an alternate, yes.
So first one will be Thursday. The next one looks like it's difficult for you next week, right, Jen?
Yes, so Saturday morning would work, Friday night. Yes, that's definitely how I want to spend my Friday night instead of sewing.
That's a toss-up for me. Sewing, board meeting.
Right.
Anybody else?
Week of the 4th through the 8th, Jen's busy.
We don't have a deadline on this, by the way. I mean, we have 90 days. So I'm
Right.
sure we'd like to
But
get someone started as soon as possible, but
As of now, the week of the 11th, other than the board meeting Monday, I'm pretty open.
if we go off to that next week for Plan B, how does that look for
I'm
you, Jen?
open nights.
Ken?
From the 11th to the 15th, I'm open every night except for the 13th.
And I'm gonna check in just a second, as soon as I save this one.
Now, let's say that 3 people could do this Thursday, but 2 can't do it until until this other week. Do we want to do them apart? We want to do them all the same night, do we not?
You don't have to. And if you talk about, let's say 2 couldn't do it that night, well,
I think to have them all the same night and fresh would be preferable.
maybe that's the same thing. Well, and there could be a perceived advantage if I mean, no one's gonna know the question, so we ask them that day, right? If someone knows the question, there could be a perceived advantage of knowing what's gonna be asked. I don't think it's
Thursday, the 14th, as the backup.
impossible.
Sure. I'm good with that, Thursday, 14th.
That works for me
Yes,
as well.
that'll work for me.
Okay, so that is Plan B. Hopefully Plan A works and we can do the interview soon. So one thing about that is we'll schedule the interviews at 6:20, 6:40, 7, 7:20, 7:40. Right? So some people might be able to make it work, whether it's later or earlier. Okay. When will we know? Tomorrow will we know if we were able to do it this week? Okay. And the last item under board discussions is the Ludicauga Elementary School board site visit and the draft agenda. What does the board think of that, the agenda?
I think it looks great. I've had a question, and just in noticing, when we invite, they've always said, the agendas have always said staff and board Q&A. I've never known anyone that's not a teacher to not show up. Wait, did I say that right? I have only noticed teachers and admin show up, not all staff.
Good point.
And so I know that
I shouldn't
many,
say that. I think we have.
I
but
know that
it's
many
usually-
paras have assignments for sometimes during that time, but when it says staff, I want staff. I don't, just.
You want to make sure staff's being invited.
Yes,
Okay.
by the building principal
Good
and,
point.
and those things, just so that everybody knows it's a staff meeting, it's not just a teacher
Okay.
invited thing, so.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, so from time to time it is, so maybe it's up to the school with how they sell it.
Right, so,
So then is there, we've, I think, this year picked what kind of a group of students that we want to meet with. Any ideas for this one?
I think our past plans have been nice.
Growth.
12, growth of 2 years or more.
So just the same as we have?
Mhm. And not pasty donuts, please.
Wow, now you're going to start
I know,
putting
I
in your
know.
menu choices, huh? Okay, sorry, I'm just making sure sure I get this, put this in.
Donuts are fine, just not like waxy pasty ones, that's all. Because I go to eat them thinking they're gonna be awesome, and then they're not, and then.
Ruins your whole day.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Got it. And that'll be the same day as the school district safety forum as well. That's going to be that evening. Okay.
Since you brought that up, how is that being advertised?
So
That's not on the agenda.
would you want to, maybe you want to talk about that in the informational items, Dr. Hirsch, when we get to that? Okay. So we will finish ours and hear about that later. We're on the student rep reports. It feels like we haven't seen you in a long time, student reps. I don't know why that is, but I feel that way.
Maybe it's because we haven't been to school in 3 months because of the weather. So,
Well, that's right. Our last meeting was after the, what do they call it, Snowmageddon?
yeah. Yeah, so my report actually starts with the whole not going to school because a lot of people are behind, especially in like classes themselves, because I know in a lot of higher classes, like the college courses, they have a very strict calendar, but everything's being altered and everything's being shifted. So there's a lot of confusion in a majority of classes for some students. We have James, one of our leadership speakers from a leadership camp that the students went to over the summer. I'm sorry, I do not know his last name. All I know is James, leadership guy. So he's coming tomorrow to speak with both the leadership classes. So we're going to have older kids in the morning and then the younger kids in the evening. That sounds like middle schoolers and elementary schoolers. But yeah, so he's just we're going to learn how to be leaders and how to appropriately conduct assemblies and appropriately deal with certain issues. We also have spring sports officially started today, even though all of them were inside and at different schools. And nonetheless, it still started. SAT and ACT practice has been going on because those are coming up fast. We started talking about registering for classes for next year. So at the high school, there was a Husky Futures classes, had a little lecture, for lack of a better word, about the pathways that you want to go into, the human services, the STEAM program, the agricultural, and the performing arts and music. So we just talked about which direction you want to go and how you can best prepare yourself for that. Mini homecoming has started today. We started with camo day, and then tomorrow's mix match. And at the end of homecoming, mini homecoming, we're having a blacklight dance. So we're inviting DOHS and OHS students, and we're going to have a blacklight glow dance together put on by the junior class. So I don't know if you guys remember, but at the WASDA conference, we met Christian Moore. I've kind of brought him up a couple times. I had a meeting with my principal today, kind of getting started on the finalization of the assembly. So we're looking at the first 3 weeks in May, and we're just going to depend on his schedule if he would come and do an assembly for the students at OHS and DOHS, and if he would do like workshops. Mr. Vergara, at his request, was to kind of have him come and work with a select group of kids and how they can deal with bouncing back, which is his whole theme of resilience. There you go.
Well, I don't have too much, but our students are getting ready to take the ELPA tomorrow, so that's just like our ELA students, and we're kind of working together on trying to get dates for Christian Moore to come. I had actually met with Tovar quite a few weeks ago right before break and got the approval, but we couldn't get our schedules to work with the Vergara, so it just kind of got forgotten and stuff. So now we're finally getting back on track with that, and so I will email him tonight and see what he says, and hopefully we can have him come in the beginning of May, I believe is when you wanted him. Other than that, like, we're just getting ready for our state assessments. Yeah, it's coming up fast, graduation. Yay.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
I have a question. Have you guys been contacted by any of the MMS folks after we met with them about any issues or anything?
No, I have not.
Oh, that's also another thing. Me and Taylor were kind of working, trying to email teachers and stuff, so we could go and kind of talk to the kids on our own. But, you know, with break and everything, it's just been kind of jumbled up.
Catching up with school.
Yeah, so that is also another thing that we're working on, is to meet with students on our own terms and not with a big group of adults. So
If
hopefully,
I'm being like sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
it's
Like, if I'm being completely honest, it's probably gonna happen more in March, just because of
yeah,
with
right now
all-
it's,
the weather's like messing everything up, and then we just don't know like planning wise. So I think we're looking at March or April.
oh, and we also met to put together the end of the year, you know, showcase. Project Bridges, yes. I always call it just a showcase because it's easier for my brain. But we're kind of starting to talk about that and get ideas for that rolling, so we're not doing it last minute. So if you have any suggestions, please let us know so we can kind of get that in the works.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board for the student reps? Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to item C1, required approvals. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the required approvals.
Been a motion by Director Stevenson to approve,
Second.
second by Director Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And now we'll move on to superintendent items. The one item that's there is our financial report. If there's any questions for clarification. Okay.
Early
Okay.
quick, has the number dropped on the FTEs? On the 65 below budgeted? Did,
We need to get her in a mic.
Yeah. Have to come up to the mic, sorry, for Facebook.
I really don't have the answer
okay.
for you. I looked at it today. I think it's holding steady, but I would have to verify the exact numbers.
Okay.
Anything else? All right.
Community,
Well,
no,
yeah, I just meant
no,
about this.
no, I
Okay.
have no.
So that, Dr. Hirsch, you have a chance to answer questions about the forum.
So absolutely, just for communication, how we're communicating.
Yeah, that was a question, right?
Yes,
And that was with regard to the school meeting, the board visit?
no,
or
I'm
the-
sorry,
The forum?
for the safety forum.
Absolutely. So actually, we put together a communication plan with ESD 112. We work with Monique DeGaulle, and we are using flyers, a mailer that's going out as well. The mailer will go out to every home within the community. We're doing the school reader boards, Blackboard messaging, which is the robocall, including text message. We have put it in the Columbia Basin Herald as well. And also the Sun Tribune. It's been on our webpage, Facebook. It's going in our newsletter. We have a letter going home with all our students to the parents. And then also staff communication. So an email sent out by superintendent.
Great. And you just want us present,
The
right?
board is just
Not,
supposed to be
we're not
present.
sitting up there.
No.
We're just in the audience.
We have a panel from the district and some experts as well that's going to be participating.
That's a good question, Jen, I was going to ask. So just to clarify for the community who might be listening to this, this is not a board forum. This is a forum that the district is putting on
Right.
really to show where we're at with EL 16.
Absolutely.
And specifically the part where it says that you will
Discuss
Have-
options.
have experts talk about the pros and cons of the options. Okay.
Absolutely. An opportunity for community, parents, students, teachers, staff to provide feedback as well.
Okay.
Can you remind us the day and time and location?
Absolutely.
That is in upcoming events as well on our calendar, so it's March 5th, 6 PM, MMS Auditorium, correct?
Absolutely.
And you're planning a 2-hour, is that right? Okay. Thank you.
Better make
You're
sure that's
welcome.
in there now, too. Oh, we got it. My calendar said 1 hour.
We're anticipating a lot of questions, so really, we're not going to stop the questions from coming. We'll just let them go.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Hurst. Anything else for informational items from you?
No, sir.
We will move on to item D1, board response to monitoring reports. So the interesting thing, this is our first year of getting mid-year reports. So the question was asked, how are we doing Survey Monkeys on this? And I was like, that's right, this is the first time. So it's up to the board how we do this in the future if we want to do Survey Monkeys, but I thought the appropriate thing to do, not to give a regular Survey Monkey, because then we'd be monitoring that report twice, each one of those, but maybe just to say, how do we think, just to give feedback to Dr. Hurst about how we think he's doing as far as progress toward the end result. So that was my decision to do the Survey Monkey that way. If the board has any feedback about how we could do that differently next year, just feel free to let me know. But that's where that came from. That's why it looked different than anything else we've done. So the questions are pretty simple. First one, based on the based on the year-end expectations of the ends policy, the board feels that the superintendent is making adequate progress toward the desired results. And this specific one is ends 1. With this, there was all 4 responses, and 3 said yes, that the superintendent's making adequate progress, and 1 said no. The comment said, based on percentage of students meeting proficiency standards, the reading percentages were low. It would have been nice to have data from same time as last year to compare to and to show if there was continuous growth. Dr. Hurst also, I think, as a response to this, kind of sent out some information to the board through email. Basically, I think we just reminded the board that these were all new metrics, and there was no last year and how they did, because this was the first year that these goals were set. Obviously the comments in there, I don't know who made the comment, or if the board who put yes would like to change their feeling on that, but this is really just feedback to Dr. Hurst, so.
I made the comment, and after seeing the response from Dr. Hurst, I could take off the last portion of that. I still believe that based on the reading percentages, which were all in the 20, they ranged from second grade, Dibbles was at 42, they were the highest, but from third grade, it averaged at 27%, fourth grade, STARS rating 30%, and then it goes down from there, all the way down to 8th grade, which was 21%, and 10th grade was at 24%. To me, I'm not ready to accept those type of percentages. By saying it's okay, I'm not ready to accept those. I would like to see a much higher than that. And that was my reasoning for saying no.
So
So-
is your feelings that our 18, 19 goals then are too low? Is that what you mean?
Especially when you look at the following year.
I shouldn't say
The goal.
ours, but the goals that
Yeah,
the district has set up.
yeah, because I would like to see a much higher.
So,
I know it's going to be a lot of work, but to me, those percentages are low. 1 in 4 students only meeting the STARS are reading test
And
right
you,
now.
what are you specifically talking about, which one on that one, Ken?
You mean for,
Is that
it's all on the reading.
sixth grade, is that what you're saying,
Well, you
for
look at,
instance?
you look at all the scores. Like I said, and from third grade on up to eighth, they actually start to go down. Each grade level, as you get higher, the percentages go lower. And you think it would have been the opposite way, that they would have started to climb.
I get what you're saying, but I think where I'm hung up a little bit on is that the 2021 target is 190, and then
Yes.
90%, right? And then Dr. Hurst and his staff came up with a 3-year plan to get to that
Yes.
with and incremental steps. And with the board, we approved that plan and said, we're okay with those, knowing that that's just a step to where it is. For instance, sixth grade is at 24%, but the goal for the end of the year was 32. And so I judged it based off progress is being made toward it. We know we're not at 32, but our expectation, my expectation is still that we're gonna be at 32 by the end of the year. And so,
My answer might be at the end of the year, I would like to see, but for right now, I would still have to stick on
So
the
you
current
don't-
scores. If the end of the year, my answer might be a lot different,
So
if we're meeting our goals.
my question is on the STAR test, is it testing, the test that they've just taken, is that to meet end-of-year goals? And 24 or 21 and all of those percentages are what's meeting the end-of-year goals now? Or is that test where they're at currently in the school year?
So what I shared in my email is that the summative test is the SBA, so that's the end of the year, so that would not be now.
Right.
So everything that you're seeing now is formative data, so as you said, STAR 360 or DIBELS or something of that nature.
But those test off of where they're at right now in the school year, not on the end-of-year
Right.
goals? Okay. All right.
so the feeling is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Hurst, is star reading was one of our best ways to measure, is mostly aligned with SBA. So if we could have students doing well on star reading, we expect similar results on SBA. Is that right? Okay, so my feeling doesn't change. I mean, I agree that the scores aren't where they're supposed to be, and I think that that's been shared with us by administration and everyone I've talked to. I was judging this based off progress toward the end of year goals. That was how I rated it. I don't know if the rest of the board was looking at the same way.
You know, I looked at that term adequate progress also. And I still had a problem, even the goal numbers. I think we should be doing a lot more in those areas. I don't know what there is to do. That's up for you and your team, but it's still, reading is the basis, I think, for all education. It's the start. It's the foundation. So it's an area that we really need to work on a lot, especially after seeing those percentages. It just really surprised me.
So what do you think, Ken, and this is just a question for me, what do you think would have been a percentage that would have been for you adequate progress? I'll just say, stick with sixth grade star reading. What percentage in November would have been adequate progress for you in your mind?
You know, I would have liked to even seen halfway to what your 2021 goal is.
So you don't agree with
But
the
your
18,
2021
19
goal, I think, is also a very, very large number. And Pete expressed that when he gave his report, which Pete, you did a very good job on that report when you gave it. I was appreciative of it. But that is a high number too, but
So 45%.
in the 40s, yes, somewhere in the 40s would have been.
So you would have needed
I
to
just-
see a percentage greater than what the goal was that we approved in order to make that adequate progress just for this year?
Yeah, it's
That's where
hard
I'm
for me
struggling.
to just kind of leave a low number there. Because
You understand what I'm
always wanna-
saying though, Ken?
Yes, yes, you always want to be striving for better,
And we approved it,
so,
but we approved 32%.
yeah.
So to say that you expect 45% halfway through the year, that's going against what we
Well-
approved as a board, though.
I'm not really saying halfway through the year. What it is, that would be the end of the year, but it also states adequate progress. Could be more progress be being put into it.
Isabella would like to say something.
As a student, the STAR reading test when you take it online, personally, what I've seen is a lot of kids tend to mess around on that. So it's kind of hard for, Dr. Hurst to see that and say, oh, this is where we need to improve on, because a lot of kids actually really mess around on it. And when it comes to the SBA, they take it a lot more seriously because it's a state exam. Whereas a STAR test, they're like, oh, we can just mess around because it doesn't really show anything. And I know that's not true, but in their heads, that's what it, especially when they're young, they're just like, oh, I just want to get this done with. So personally, that's what I've seen, and it's kind of hard to base certain things off of that, because kids do tend to not care about the STAR exam. I mean, some do, but for the majority, especially in that age, they're just kind of like, oh, I just want to get it done and get it over with. But when it comes to the SBA, they're like, this is a state exam, it's serious. So it's kind of hard to, just from a personal view, that's what I think.
I totally agree. I see that a lot, especially in like in my calculus class when we have to take the STAR test for math. A lot of the kids are like, do I really have to? A lot of kids, there's some kids that just they just blow it off. And I think she was saying how it's because it's a state exam. I think it's they take the SBA very, very seriously because it impacts them. If you don't pass it, you don't graduate. So I think that's
Right.
I agree. I have seen that in the students.
And I do think that the STAR assessments are important to, help prepare us for the SBA. But then again, looking at that data and then judging that data on how kids are going to do for the SBA, it's kind of hard to be 100% about that. Or not even 100%, but even 98%, because you never know what kids are thinking or how they're feeling that day, what they're going through or whatever. So I think that definitely plays a big part on your data as well.
So, Ken, you said that you'd be happy with taking off that second sentence after getting the email from Dr. Hurst?
Yes.
But you still wanted to leave the first
I
sentence?
just feel that the scores are low, and knowing that, I think that effort or more effort would be putting in to try to get them up higher instead of settling and just going at the pace that it is.
The part I'm struggling with is that we, as a board, approved goals for Dr. Hurst. And if we get to the end of the year and he reached his goals, but then we move the bar on him, that's not fair for us to do that as a board. That's where I'm concerned.
Okay, but I can understand what Ken's saying about adequate progress. If the goal is 32 at the end of the year, and this is not like an end-of-year test, I mean, I'm not saying I want to change my vote, but I can understand what Ken's saying and can respect that he, at this time, is saying no. So does this affect, how does this affect?
No, but it doesn't affect the evaluation. It's supposed to be letting Dr.
Okay.
Hurst know.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay, how am I doing on this?
right, I understand.
And that's, like I said, at the end of the year, I'm not necessarily talking about
Right.
changing the goals.
Okay, well, that was my
I'm-
concern, because you
yeah.
said, I think we should be
I mean,
halfway to the
you know-
2021 goal, but that's not what the goal that we approved was.
That's where it would be really nice to be.
Oh, we'd all
Right.
love it, I'm sure.
Right, but even
But-
if the end-of-year goal is 32% and we're in the 20s, he considers that not adequate progress at this point. I can respect that vote at this time, I guess.
Well, and so, and I wasn't, it's still 3-1, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want to make sure that as a board, we're not moving the bar, because that's why I was asking the
Mhm.
follow-up questions that I was. Okay, so, sorry, I had gone back to a different meeting to look at some of that information. So for ends, the same question, ends 2, 4 were compliant, 4 found, sorry, not compliant. 4 found adequate progress was being made. And ends 3, the same, 4 found that adequate progress was being made. I don't think that it's appropriate to do a monitoring and response document for this because it's not being monitored, but I guess this will just stay in the record in our board docs is the discussion that we had.
Okay.
Okay, we have no items for policy review tonight, no executive session items, and upcoming events. 2 have already been mentioned, the Ludicagi Elementary School visit on the 5th, the Safety Community Forum that evening, and then March 18th, the special board meeting. That's our next facilities workshop. And that will be at 6:30. The board can now do our self-assessment for the meeting. Okay. So the agenda was well planned to focus on the real work of the board. 6 found that commendable. The board followed its agenda and did not allow itself to get sidetracked. 4 said commendable, 1 said good, 1 said satisfactory. Usually when we're 2 off, I like to ask if anyone wants to, is there comments or that? Okay. Does anyone want to comment on the satisfactory? Okay. The board's deliberations and decision-making processes were public. 6 said commendable. All board members participated in discussion. No one dominated. 3 said commendable. 3 said good. Members listened attentively, avoiding side conversations. 6 said commendable. Under governance principles review, board actions occurred at the policy level rather than the operational level. 5 said yes. 1 did not feel it was applicable. The board agenda reference policy about each topic that was discussed. 4 said yes, 2 said not applicable. Just a comment, that's always applicable. Those 2 are always applicable.
Yeah, no, I always get confused. I get confused on like which one's policy and which one's.
So
The
under
other
the
one.
agenda items, it should reference policy, why that item's in there.
Oh, okay.
And then under board actions occurred at a policy level, any discussion is actually action. So if we're discussing operations, then we're getting off track from policy level discussions. You got it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm gonna forget by the next board meeting. I'm gonna apologize in advance.
Well, I saw you kind of talking to each other. I thought, all right, maybe that was you guys. Who picked that. The board chair helped the board efficiently conduct its meeting. 6 said yes. The board supported the superintendent in any reasonable interpretations of its policies. 4 said yes, 2 said not applicable. That one's been something that we go back and forth with on that. Almost every meeting, there's opportunity for us to decide if the superintendent is, if we're given, reasonably interpreting what our policies are. The next part is for new or modified policies. And there were 11 correct answers on that, 1 incorrect answer. We didn't write any new or modified policies, so not applicable for most. You guys are doing great. It's all right. And then overall, the meeting, 5 found it commendable, 1 found it to be good. We have completed our business. Good meeting, board, and this meeting is adjourned.